Hello and welcome back to the Nest and Inside the Iggles live show. Days don't matter anymore, so I'm not going to try to guess the date. Thank you guys for joining us. That's Brandon Pockrass. My name's Jake Beckman. And the Eagles are dead. The Eagles are done. The Eagles are done. Brandon, you know what's bad? You know what's bad? We have to watch another game. They've already made it to the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs. And this season, this trudge, this awful everything is going to go on for another goddamn week. And then people are going to be like, no. The Eagles are in it. We can do this. And we're going to get our hopes up for postseason success. We're going to do it. A couple weeks ago, Travis said, it's like think of it like the 2000s Patriots. It's just a regular season game. It doesn't matter. It all comes down to the postseason wins. And then people are going to say that, and we're going to get our hopes up, and our hearts are going to get torn out. And I'm telling you right now that that's all going to happen. Be prepared for it to happen. I'm not trying to get it to stop it from happening. That's just what's going to happen. Brandon, how are you doing today?
You know, we're reaching a point in time where after the 49ers game, we were like, all right, this might just be one game. The 49ers are really good. To now where it's like, oh no. And it's not just the defense. It's not just the offense, but it's everything.
It's the whole fucking team.
All in between. And that's not to say that I think all of a sudden the Eagles are just this horrible team, because objectively, they have played a really tough stretch. But there has been a lot of things that have gone wrong. And the thing I want people to remember just to start off with is nothing's going to matter besides how the Eagles fare against the teams that are like the Seahawks, the Cowboys, and the 49ers. So I think on that part, fans reacting the way they are, I'm not going to necessarily call it an overreaction, because yes, the playoffs are everything that matters. That's the only thing that matters. The Eagles finished the season with 2 games against the Giants and a game against the Cardinals, right? Teams they should just outclass. But at the same time, the way they performed against 3 of the better teams in the NFC, that has to ring the alarm bells. That it has to ring some form of alarm bells. And I think the fact that they have reacted the way they have, at least the team,
which
should
is a
ring
ludicrous
even
way to
more
do it.
alarm bells.
Which is the way they reacted is ludicrous.
Yes.
Ludicrous.
Yes.
We'll get into that. Yep. Let's do that now. So on Sunday morning, wake up, have yourself a bagel, have a good breakfast, turn on the Fox pregame show. Jay Glazer's like, hey guys, Eagles fired. A couple days before that, we get the report of Kevin Byard saying that the defensive backs are going to do their self-scouting. They don't do that. That is not a thing that players do. Players don't scout the other team.
Not during the season.
No. That is just a thing they don't do. There are people that this multi-million-dollar franchise has hired to specifically do that thing. And then we're like, well, that's not good. It's not good that things have come to that. But if you're going to say, how are the Eagles going to react to this kind of this spot that they're in? That's rational. They're like, okay, yeah, let's tweak it. Let's tweak it a little bit. Sunday morning, you're getting your bagel, you're having your coffee, and then all of a sudden, Jay Glazer says, "Hey, Sean Desai, see you later, buddy. It's Matt Patricia time. It's Matt Patricia time." That's what he tells us, and that's crazy. That is a goddamn crazy thing to do, because it's December. It is December, and you get a new defensive coordinator. You know, going into the season, it was like, how is this Eagles team going to be different? You know, what's the worst thing that could happen to a Super Bowl team? Getting to new coordinators is bad. You know what's worse than that? Having 3 new coordinators in one season. I am beyond the entire week leading up to it. In Nick Sirianni's first press conference of the week, I can't remember who it was. Somebody straight up asked him, not a good journalistic move, because you're not supposed to do yes or no questions, but he says, are you going to do any coaching changes? Nick Sirianni looks at him dead in the eye and says, no. And that's how he answers it. He follows up. Yeah, yes. What's the reason behind that? He says, we like the people in-house. Technically, Matt Patricia's in-house. Congratulations on not lying on that front. It is a goddamn loony bin. It is a loony bin. This is awful. This organization is going through something crazy, man. I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words. I don't know.
I don't know what to say because it's like
It's
we
unprecedented.
talked about Patricia on Friday as a joke.
Sure
As
did.
a joke where it's like, "Oh yeah, this guy's on the staff." 3 days later, it's, "Oh yeah, this guy's calling plays." And it's funny because the Eagles come out and say, "No, Desai's still the defensive coordinator," but he's in the booth and Patricia is going to take over play calling and be on the field. So it's like, no, Patricia's the defensive coordinator now. Why don't you just give him the title? And like you said, middle of the season, don't think I've ever seen that. For a playoff team, don't think I've ever seen that. And it's like, if you objectively think about it, how is Matt Patricia going to call Sean Desai's scheme? He's not. So now, do you have to install new stuff that Patricia wants to run that he ran somewhere to New England with 3 weeks remaining in the regular season with a secondary that already has been struggling? It's I don't know. It's absurd. It's absurd.
Oh my god! And somebody show me what's on Sean Desai's tablet. They kept showing him in that box, which that's bullying. That's bullying. Sean Desai seems like a great guy. He seems like a very kind-hearted guy. What they did to him is it's filthy, disgusting. That guy he's not going to have a career, and like a defensive coordinating career after this. You don't come back from this. But somebody show me what's on his tablet, because if he is not up there after getting demoted and on that tablet only playing Fruit Ninja, I don't know what the hell he's thinking, because you phoned it in. That's like your boss being like, "Hey, you're going to be fired on Tuesday. Make sure you come into work on Monday." It's like, well, buddy, I ain't working on Monday. Okay, like it's what they. Oh my god, this is a ludicrous thing. I don't. And then we get to the end of the game. I don't want to fast forward too much. We get to the end of the game.
Man.
All right, Matt Patricia, now's your time to shine. They got to go 92 yards on a 2-minute offense. Matt Patricia, this is where you could prove us all wrong with your stupid pencil and your stupid face and your stupid, terrible offense or defenses forever and ever. This is your time to shine, buddy. James Bradbury. Then James Bradbury happened.
So, remember when we talked about PFF grades in man coverage on the show?
I don't want to.
Remember when we said James Bradbury was like a 35 PFF grade in man coverage? Yeah, that kind of reared its ugly head multiple times on that drive where, look, I get it, right? Like the scheme and Bradbury, the name, it's, oh yeah, he can do everything, right? He's an amazing cornerback.
No,
he can't. And
can't do nothing, man.
Just the DK Metcalf play where he went up over Sidney Brown and Bradbury for that play. And then on top of that, the thing I don't get, right? And there was a safety deep on that play. And I don't know, I didn't see the full play yet if Drew Lock looked him off or anything.
I'm going to tell you right now, Drew Lock is not capable of looking someone
That's what I'm
off.
saying. Why are you leaving Bradbury on the island with Jackson Smith and Jigba? JSN, one of the best wide receivers
in the draft
in the draft from last year, a guy that Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave have repeatedly said is better than both of them. Why are you leaving that guy on an island in man coverage with the game on the line? I don't care. Like, I don't care what guy is at quarterback, unless the guy is like a Tim Boyle, Brett Rippon, bottom of the barrel quarterback. They're making that throw.
Right.
And a decent NFL quarterback is making that throw, let alone a guy with the arm talent that Drew Lock has. And we are fast forwarding because I have a lot of things to say about the defense on that drive. And screw it, I'll just say it now.
Go for it.
I don't understand what that was. As someone that's watched a lot of bad football in their lifetime, seeing that, I'm getting Greg Williams PTSD.
Oh, Dr. Heat.
the Henry Ruggs over the top touchdown against the Adam
Jets.
Gase Jets because he sent a zero blitz,
Mm.
right? Like, what are you leaving a guy on an island for in that situation? You know they need to get a touchdown or at a minimum more yardage, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. It didn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Not gonna.
And on top of that, the personnel in that secondary has gotten blowtorched this year.
Yep.
What changed in a week? Nothing. James Bradbury has legitimately been horrible in man coverage. And that's the guy you're letting basically decide that game outcome for you? Have it be Eli Ricks. Have it be Josh Jobe. Because guess what? At least in their situation,
Yeah,
if
it's a rookie.
It's a rookie that if they get burned, they can learn from it and get better.
Right.
Maybe the fact that Eli Ricks was a former 5-star, that talent pops up and he breaks up the pass. Maybe Jobe shows what he did in the preseason and breaks up the pass. But no, you rely on the guy that has only been slower, has only been worse this season. It didn't work. It didn't work. Shocker. It didn't work.
To just emphasize how much worse James Bradbury's been this year than last year. So he's easily having his worst season of his life. Last year he allowed 2 touchdowns in coverage, and he allowed a 51.6 passer rating when he got targeted. This year, James Bradbury has allowed 10 touchdowns himself when he is in coverage, and he has he allows a 111.7 passer rating. The guy can't be that. He can't be there. He can't be there. I honestly, and here's where I'm at. This season's shot for me. This season is shot for me. See what you have. Okay. I don't know how much longer Slay's going to be out, but on Monday, on Christmas, I want Keely Ringo, who I thought played decent yesterday, and Eli Ricks on the outside. And then just if you need Slay to be on the field, if you are like, we paid this guy an assload of money, we're going to get our money's worth, which you're not gonna, by the way, you're not going to do that. You're not going to get your money's worth. Put him at slot. Put him at slot. I don't, if you need him on the field, put him at slot, because he's not the answer.
I mean, they opened Avonte Maddox's practice window.
They did.
So that's gigantic.
That is Mondo. He'll get hurt.
That's gigantic. But look, to your point, they play the Giants twice and the Cardinals. See what you got in these guys heading into the postseason. You're in the playoffs already. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah, and if any other reason, and they're not going to do this, for the bit that nobody wins the NFC East in back-to-back years. Yeah, I'm still, because of that nobody wins it back-to-back years, I might even double down. That I think old Jonathan Gannon, old Johnny Gans, JG, he's going to absolutely just take his fist and just BF us on in week 17. He's gonna do that. I have
a bad feeling they are losing either the Cardinals game or one of the Giants games. I don't think they lose this week on Christmas Day. I have a bad feeling they're losing one of those the Cardinals or the Giants game, because it's like, and this, if we want to transition to this, if you don't have anything left about the defense,
let's see. Well, I do have some thoughts on Matt Patricia's defense.
Fair. All right. We'll stay there.
You mentioned what is he going to do with Sean Desai's defense? His solution, which, to be fair, so for me, there's some thoughts like, yeah, Matt Patricia's defense can't, like, to be like, it can't be any worse with Sean Desai's defense. It can, and Matt Patricia has done much worse with defenses. But I liked what he did with Sean Desai's defense. He did a bunch of the 3 safety looks.
Yeah.
And I like that, because then you will only have one linebacker on the field instead of 2, which is such a huge personnel advantage for this team. So I know Sidney Brown missed a few tackles, but at least he's some juice. At least he gives you life, man. Oh, so I liked that. And then he also didn't blitz. And the Eagles are terrible in coverage when they blitz. So I like that as well. So for what Matt Patricia did in that last drive was an abomination from all accounts. I did like that he did the 3 safety look because that's fun for me.
Yeah, and it's weird because I wouldn't say the majority of that game for the Eagles defense was horrible, right? They weren't good. They did let up a decent amount of yardage, and they did allow the Seahawks to repeatedly stay in it. But
Yep.
you know, whether it was because of the conditions or the fact that it was Drew Lock at quarterback, it felt like they kept Seattle in check for most of the game. And Jalen Carter was getting after the quarterback, and it felt like that run defense, while not as good as it's been, it felt like it was still there to an extent. But
yeah, missed tackles, and a lot of it was on
yeah.
the Seahawks had exactly 100 yards rushing. 23 of that was on that the Kenneth Walker
Yeah.
play.
And that's the thing. It's that second half, they were getting there. It's just they couldn't bring Walker down. And
yeah.
it was so many yards after contact and broken tackles. But that last drive, it just flies in the face of all the progress. It's you can make all the progress and you can have as good of a game, but you have to close out games in the NFL. The margin of error is so small. So a drive like that, where it felt like it just flipped everything. Where it's you're moving away from a lot of the 3 safety looks and going a lot more man. Well, now you're getting burnt for it. So it's especially against a team like Seattle that has a contested catch freak.
Yeah.
And just overall freak in DK Metcalf.
Yep.
They had the speed of Tyler Lockett, which I'm surprised they didn't get burnt by that. And then you have a rookie in JSN who's only gotten better week after week. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't know why they did it. I'm just going to be very interested to see how that starting point evolves for, I guess, the new Eagles defense under Matt Patricia, because, let's face it, right? This team, because of how many secondary issues they've had, might be in danger of a wild card weekend scare if we get to that point.
They're going to lose on the wild card.
So it's for example, Tampa Bay, I don't have any confidence in the Eagles secondary to shut down Mike Evans. Chris Godwin just broke out against a Green Bay secondary for the first time, it seems like whatever. And guess what? Baker Mayfield isn't a superstar, but he's definitely not a bad quarterback.
Better than Drew Lock.
And let's say Todd Bowles, for whatever reason, gets this Tampa Bay defense together. You're asking for an upset on Wild Card Weekend. I'm Minnesota if you end up running into them. They already proved they can pass on you. And that was at the beginning of the year when it wasn't as bad. This isn't a walk in the park for this team.
No.
And to that point, if they don't get the bye, they're in a world of hurt, not only because of their defense, but because those cracks are getting bigger and bigger and bigger on this offense. And if you want to move there,
yeah, let's do some offense talk. God damn it.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't like being out on coordinators. Brian Johnson's really starting for me to be I don't know what's going on here.
Because we're Nick Sirianni confirmed liar about not firing people or changing play callers. Yesterday, I believe he said that he wasn't going to get rid of a Brian Johnson. So
who knows?
Maybe he got rid of a defensive coordinator this late in the season. Why not? Why not Brian Johnson? Why not?
I'm just going through so much deja vu. And there is room for Johnson to grow, and maybe he can turn around. But I'm getting so much deja vu from the Doug Peterson era when he lost Kevin O'Connell the year after they made the Super Bowl run, and it seemed like a lot of that offense just seemed to just fall apart.
You might grow. Not Kevin O'Connell. That was Frank Reich.
Oh, Frank Reich.
Yeah.
Or what? Wasn't O'Connell. It was someone else.
and then Mike Groh was his offensive coordinator.
Okay, because I knew it was Reich, Peterson, and someone else. But it's giving me deja vu because Shane Steichen leaves.
God.
And Shane Steichen
Don't invoke his name.
He might be the damn coach of the year.
He should be.
I agree. He should be.
Either him or Kevin Stefanski. Those are my two.
The Colts are literally like on the verge of being a legit playoff team locked in with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Zach Moss being their running back for the majority of the year. It is an incredible job. He is making it's incredible. The scheme they're running over there, you would think it'd be impossible, right? Oh, you lose the absolute world athlete freak in Anthony Richardson, who I think is going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And Steichen's just like, bet.
Yeah. We got this other fella.
You look at the Eagles now. The rhythm, right? They were doing it so well at the beginning of the game. Because those scripts and getting the ball in the A.J. Brown's hands and the running game and sticking with it. All of a sudden, second half, end of the game. Where did that go? Why are we trying to force things? Why is Jalen Hurts with 2 timeouts left? I know I'm jumping all over the place.
No, you're good.
Why are you forcing a deep pass? And maybe it was PI, maybe it wasn't. I don't care.
God.
You have 2 timeouts with 15 seconds with Jake frickin' Elliott as your kicker. The guy that recently, a few weeks ago against Buffalo, hit one of the hardest field goals I have ever seen a kicker attempt. Why are you throwing a deep ball to a guy in double coverage? I don't care if A.J. Brown is Superman in that scenario. It is a bad decision from the quarterback. So you have the horrible play calling, and you have Hurts just trying to force things. No. It's all over the place for me. And maybe I can't fully pinpoint it, right? Maybe I can't fully give you the reason why this Eagles offense just seems broken. But man, it seems like they're just not in phase enough. It seems like they're not just sticking what works. It seems like they're just grasping at the straws. And I've seen this a lot on social media, and I do want to pose this point. It seems like they're trying to hit the big play for the sake of hitting the big play.
That's all they want to do.
And
man,
and they're not actively trying to set up an offense.
It's like the exact opposite of the Jonathan Gannon thing. Jonathan Gannon, why'd you hire him? Because he can stop the big play with his cover 2 shell. Okay, congratulations. That's all he can do. Why did you hire Brian Johnson? Because he knows how to draw an arrow straight forward for the route for A.J. Brown. It's like, yeah, I don't care. Be easy. Don't do dumb things. We've all seen the picture now at the end of that last play where Kenny Gainwell's wide open. We've seen the other ones with Devontae Smith running free down. Oh my God! Like for a first down, it's goddamn ludicrous. It's goddamn ludicrous. Now you brought up how the beginning of the game, you said that, and I think you might be onto something with like the scripted plays and everything. Okay, so here's my thought on this. I have a couple thoughts on this. My first one, not coordinator / coaching related. Number one, Jalen Hurts. Yesterday, the 2 scoring drives were the first drive of the game and the first drive coming out of halftime. And for a guy who's
what are both of those?
What do you mean?
Scripted.
Okay. What I'm going with is that if you're talking about a quarterback who's playing deathly ill, the probably strongest he's going to be playing is 5 minutes after he gets shot full of drugs. And then after that, it fell off big time and quick. That's just how that game went. But I do believe with the scripted things, a lot of people are doing like it's Nick Sirianni's offense, and Brian Johnson's the one that's just calling the plays. These scripted series are doing well, and that's the part where Nick Sirianni is directly related to. Nick Sirianni is in on that, and those first drives are, for the most part, working.
Successful. They're working, yeah.
For the most part. There's been some that are total absolute stinkers, but for the most part, those are working. And then after that, Brian, you're on your own. You're out in the deep end, buddy. Yeah, Nick can be like, this is what I want to happen. And then Brian's like, okay, I'll just do Ask Madden. I'll just do Ask Madden, and I'll do the one that looks the simplest. Like, buddy, what on earth, man? He's not good at his job. And it's been like that the entire season. And Nick kept saying, yeah, we're a 10-win team. We're 10-1. We're 10-2. We're 10-3. We're 10-4 now. He's like, we're still a 10-win team. We're going to the playoffs. Nick, I don't give a shit, buddy. I test. I don't be like, yeah, well, we're top rated and whatever this statistic is, buddy. I don't care. You're not looking if you think that that's how it's supposed to look. Oh my God, it's infuriating, and it's not gonna get better.
I think the funniest thing is you mentioned the Ask Madden button, right? If we change that to the quarterback run button, I think that would better suit this offense. Because look, it's no secret that Jalen was sick and extremely sick at that.
Gravely wounded.
Like, that has to be in consideration for last night, obviously, right? So why is the offense repeatedly calling quarterback draws? Why are we doing that? Are you trying to like make the situation worse for your star quarter? Like, that's the thing, right? So your quarterback is extremely sick, yet a lot
of the game.
Yeah, first play of the game, and so many play calls, whether it's Jalen deciding himself, that sometimes remains to be seen. Right. But there were a good chunk of design quarterback runs last night. If you know how your superstar and face of the franchise is feeling, why are you attempting to run him into the ground? Again, in an environment that Seattle can be good, they can be amazing, they can be horrible. That environment is one of the hardest environments to play in all of sports. Yep. Why are you making things harder? It's just like, it's one of those things to me where I'm like, I say I don't want as many Hurts design runs. I want to leave it in his hands. The one time you leave it in his hands, he runs for a touchdown. And he makes things happen. He scrambles, and he knows how to get out of bounds, right? The design stuff, you're only making the situation worse when the guy is battling a severe illness.
Right.
Like, it's just, that isn't necessarily a big deal. But when you extrapolate that over the entire offense and you look at everything else that isn't working, it's that microcosm that can speak for the entire thing.
And here's the thing about that is that the design runs, to be fair, they were, I would argue, effective.
They were.
I think it's dumb. I agree that I think it's dumb that you're running him into the ground, a guy who's sick in 45 degrees and rain. I think that's a very dumb idea. He had the longest play of the game, 20 yards. Was the Eagles' longest play on offense, and I believe that was on the interception drive. The second interception drive, because there were two. So like he was but the running game was working too. DeAndre Swift, 16 carries for 74 yards. He's 104 yards away from getting to 1,000. So like we know that when Jalen does, again, I've been saying it all year, just show that he's willing to run at the beginning of the game and then hand the goddamn ball off, Jalen. Buddy, don't make it more difficult on yourself. I understand that some of these reads you got to trust DeAndre Swift, my friend.
Game will look good too.
At this point, I'm done with the, oh, why are we giving it to Kenny Gainwell? Just, I'm glad that you're running it. Is where I'm at. It's like I don't know. I don't even know who else it's Rashad Penny, and then I'm sure they have somebody else, some XFL guy on their practice squad. I don't care who it is. I don't care. Just as long as you are running it, we've seen that it can be effective as long as the threat for Jalen Hurts is there. Man, it is quite infuriating is where I'm at.
So it's funny because with how effective the run game was, you'd think they'd rely on it more at the end of the game when you have one of the best offensive lines in football. Injuries aside, I know Suapeta had to come in for, I think, Juergens, was it? Late in the game. And,
no, wait, who had to come in?
I know. I think I heard the broadcast say at one point Opeta was in the game.
Opeta was in the game the entire time because Juergens was out.
He didn't get hurt during it. Okay,
No, no. Jurgens was out the entire game. Driscoll came in for Lane when that was terrifying. When Lane went down writhing,
then he came right back in.
And then Dickerson's face mask got ripped off
at the beginning of the game.
And Tyler Steen came in for him. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you have a dominant offensive line for the most part. You have a running game that's working. I'll never understand why that isn't the basis of the offense. But hey, like that's why we aren't coordinators, right? It's like we can only see what's going on in the games. And does it necessarily make sense to me? Not really, but I'm sure there is reasoning. I'm not saying it's good reasoning. I'm sure there is reasoning for why they repeatedly, even when the run game is working, constantly go back to we're going to try and hit a 70-yard pass no matter what the coverage looks like.
To Quez. Why? We know this is not new. We know that he's not physical at the ball.
At the catch point.
We know that he didn't put an effort in. He didn't do anything. Julian Love is not good. Julian Love is not good. And you're gonna get out. You're gonna get out muscled by Julian Love in the end zone. You didn't even fight for it. And I don't want to hear any of this. That was a DPI or anything. He didn't even try. No. He did not even try. God, Quez, get the hell out of here. Oh my God, the snap counts. Here's snap counts for wide receiver 3.
Well, but before we get to that, did you see AJ Brown's route on that play?
Is that the one where he kind of just like jogged a little bit? Oh, yeah, yes. Baldy did a breakdown on this.
Yeah.
Because Quez and AJ were communicating at the line of scrimmage, and then neither of them got off the ball at the snap. They were too busy trying to talk to each other. Oh my God, man.
It looked like because I remember, right? I great account, but the quarterback school was like, what is 11 doing on this route? And everyone was like, what are you talking about? You mean Quez? And then he posted the video today. AJ Brown literally just at snap the ball just goes like 5 feet and just stops.
Yeah, I mean that's what AJ Brown does.
It's just like, yeah. So what were the wide receivers? Yeah. I'm interested to hear this because
snap counts.
Yeah.
Okay. Julio Jones, 22. Okay. Julio Jones had 22 snaps. That's 32%. Quez Watkins, 36. That's 52%. And then our guy, the people's wide receiver 3, everyone's favorite wide receiver 3, Olamide Zaccheaus. We love him. The Eagles don't love him. 5. Olamide Zaccheaus had 5 snaps.
He's the best one out of the bunch.
Yep. 5. He had 5.
So Julio Jones, the same Julio Jones that was a glorified just jump ball guy, if that, in Tampa Bay, is operating as the Eagles' primary wide receiver 3.
Quez had 36 to Julio's 22.
Or secondary wide receiver 3. Yep. Kind of like a jumbo wide receiver 3, if you want to call him that.
Yep.
Wes, who
can't do nothing.
I don't remember the last time he made an impact positively in a game. They're both playing above OZ, who had one of the better catches. Like, it's, once again, it goes to the point of we can only judge based off games. We don't know how it looks in practice. We don't know how the guys understand the playbooks and how it's meshing. But you would think that a guy they went out and signed in free agency in the offseason.
A guy who was a relatively good wide receiver, too, in
Atlanta with Marcus Mariota at quarterback for the majority of the year.
Right.
You would think that guy would be able to actually get on the field.
He'd be a wide receiver, too, and I don't want to say most other teams, but probably about half the teams in the league.
He'd be a wide receiver 2. He'd be a great wide receiver 3 for a lot of teams.
Yep.
I know a lot of teams. I mean, look at Kansas City. Kansas City would love a guy like Zaccheaus. Yeah. Imagine a guy like Zaccheaus in Buffalo or Dallas. Like,
he's got hands. He's got hands. He gives it his all. He tries. He blocks. He does everything. Olamide Zaccheaus does everything. Quez does one thing. Quez runs forward. And that's it. And that's the last good thing Quez did was I believe week 2 of 2021 when he had a 98-yard catch against San Francisco, and then they didn't score on that drive. That's the last good thing Quez has done. Other than that, fumble, not catch a ball, get picked off again, fumble after he picks the ball up or after he gets off the ground against Washington. The guy's not good. And it's infuriating. No. It's infuriating. I don't understand what the personnel usage is there. But to be fair, we're talking about it. We're talking about the fourth important pass catcher on this offense. It's just frustrating when they use the fourth most important guy on the offense to do a home run shot, and then it fails spectacularly. It's mind-boggling.
And it's like, it also wasn't a good ball by Jalen.
No, it wasn't good.
Like, I understand Quez not giving a great effort, but also wasn't a great ball. And it's like, there was multiple occasions, and yes, Jalen was sick, but it's also like, you're on the field, right? You got to execute.
And I believe that was one of those where, again, another poor decision, because I think that might have been one where Devontae Smith was like wide open underneath. Like, it was, man, I just don't. Jalen is making the worst decisions. I put this in the Slack last night. Jalen would not make the right decision if it were between world peace and the genocide of a small island village. Like, he would not make. He can't make a right decision right now. And I don't. It's been. This is the third game in a row, all 3 losses, where Jalen has just been making terrible decisions. I'm not saying he can't read. Maybe because there was the so AJ Brown is on Twitter again, which nobody wants that, AJ. Nobody wants you on Twitter, buddy. But he was trying to defend one of these plays where the ball got thrown to him when Devontae Smith was wide open underneath. And he's saying, like, no, I'm the first read in that. That's why he threw the ball to me. It's like, well, that is incredibly telling that you're the first read. So I'm not saying that Jalen is reading things incorrectly. He's reading things correctly. He's making terrible decisions, man. And he's being taught by somebody who's also illiterate.
It's evidently he's either like pressing or he's regressing because he feels he has to make these plays, or the mindset of the coaching staff and the offensive coordinator is like, we have to make the big plays. It's just like, it's very interesting because a lot of times when teams have these issues, it's at like a fundamental level. It's everything kind of stems together, and it's not just one aspect that is causing the issues. Like Johnson's playing a part in it, obviously.
Yep.
Maybe it's the scheme itself.
Yep.
Jalen.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, they're simply not executing, and they're not winning games like they were at the beginning of the year. And there are very real issues. And on top of that, the post-game press conference quotes. Oh man, that was just
so
not great.
The post-game press conference, Jalen was asked, because Jalen, if you've seen any Jalen post-game press conference, he's always the most vague person in the world, speaks in riddles like a man trying to stop you from getting over a bridge. He only speaks in riddles. But then yesterday, somebody asked, what's going wrong? And he said that it is a commitment issue. And that is the most direct. That might just be an overhand right from Jalen. Like, that's the most direct punch he's ever thrown. Like, that is great. That people aren't committed. And to be fair, normal human being here, not a world-class athlete, normal guy, I wouldn't be committed in that offense. The offense isn't working. I can't blame people for not being committed to it. It's not good. It's awful. It's awful that people aren't committed to it, because these are the guys on the team. They need to be bought into this offense. If they're not bought into the offense, we're seeing what we're seeing here. We're seeing an Eagles offense score 17 points against the MFing Seattle Seahawks, whose defense is atrocious. That is the current situation. That is the state of affairs. 1 week after they didn't get an offensive touchdown.
A Seattle Seahawks defense that was missing Devon Witherspoon, who is one of the best young corners in football.
And Reek Woolen was sidelined.
Reek Woolen was sidelined, and they didn't have Jamal Adams, which isn't much in coverage, but still.
Right, man. Things are going horribly wrong. I know. Before the show, Ja's not on, but he put something in the Slack that was Colin Coward telling Eagles fans to chill out. It's like, you guys got to chill out. We knew that this kind of stuff was going to happen. Both teams in the Super Bowl have regressed. He's like,
Did we know this was going to happen?
No, we didn't. We certainly didn't. We certainly didn't. We did not know that an offense was going to regress this much after they lost one starter on offense.
Mm-hmm.
One starter on offense. This is where we're at right now. And he's like, you guys got to show. I'm still very confident that we're going to see the Eagles in the NFC Championship. How could you see that? How could you see that, Colin? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's craziness.
I mean, you look at Jalen's comments, you look at AJ Brown's comments, and you're seeing a team that is encountering more adversity than they probably had in 3 years.
Yep.
The majority of time that these guys have been together.
Yep.
And it's probably the most adversity under Sirianni.
Oh, easily.
So,
well, the starting off 2-5 was pretty brutal.
But the expectations weren't there.
That's absolutely true.
So that's a big part of it too.
Yep, I agree.
Where it's like, now you're reaching that inflection point where the solutions aren't happening quickly. They're grasping for answers, aka the Matt Patricia thing. And you're going to see what this team's actually made of. And to that point, it's like, things could easily flip around. They could blow the doors off the teams in their last 3 games and roll into the playoffs and make the NFC Championship, because they have the talent.
Yep.
They have the talent to be that good. They have shown that they have the capability to be that good. And it would not surprise me if they made it that far. At the same time, they have so much to fix on the defensive side of the ball that I don't know if it can happen in this season.
Again, I'm out right on the defense. That's why I just put in all the rookies. Give me Nolan Smith snaps out the wazoo.
But more importantly, right, is the offense. You knew the defense was having issues. If your offense looks like this, how do you expect to beat the Cowboys? How do you expect to beat the 49ers?
How do you expect to beat the Rams?
Exactly. Where it's like, so much of this offense recently has been Jalen go make a play, or Jalen throw it up to Devonta or AJ. You're not seeing the same scheme prowess that the Eagles have been known for.
Yep.
Look at what this offense was doing just last year. It was humming. It was creative. It was doing things that not only were productive, but that the NFL as a whole had to catch up to. You were not seeing any of that. And my biggest question is really for Brian Johnson, right? If you saw what was working last year, why take away so much of that and do whatever you're doing now instead of taking that, building off of it, and understanding what the strengths of your team are? Like, Jalen is a phenomenal passer of the football, but there is a reason why he gets to that point. He isn't just your typical drop back and just carve you up quarterback.
Right.
Having that run game established is important. Having those RPO plays are important. Having a very effective play action game, so where you can build off of what was previously established in the game, is important. So when you start picking off those elements and now they aren't there, guess what? Now it becomes hero ball. Now it becomes, hey, we may not have the talent that Philadelphia has, but we're going to just sit in that cover 2 shell and basically let the Eagles get impatient to the point where they play themselves into mistakes. That is what happened in that game. The Eagles were not being outclassed.
Or out-talented.
They were not being out-talented. They were imposing their will. I was watching the game with my family, and I said to them, I'm like, Eagles are imposing their will in this first half. They're getting whatever yardage they want. They were
And
moving.
they're doing it incredibly effective too.
Yes.
The first drive was 8.5 minutes long. We
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
seen that drive in a very long time. The field goal, that drive that ended up being a field goal, which is just such a kick in the dick. That one, 8.5 minutes. Again, man, like they had good sequencing.
Yep.
It was just the scheming of the receivers in Jalen's decision making that was poor. There is a reason that the running game was working yesterday and that Jalen did not get sacked. There's those two things. Yes, the offensive line being tremendous in pass protection is great, but there's a reason that they weren't throwing all that at the heat at them, man. It's
Yep.
because that running game was able to work. And then Brian Johnson sees all this and he's like, you know what? What if we just ran straight? Like they see it like a create a play route tree is what Brian Johnson's working with. It's like you can do more than that with these incredibly talented people there, Bry. Come on, guy.
And it goes to that point. They stopped going with what works because they were impatient. All of a sudden,
Brutal.
Seattle put some points up, and it's, we're going to go away from controlling this game.
Freak out.
And now we're going to hit the shot play. Now we're going to throw it deep. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating because they had it. They were controlling the game.
We saw that first drive happen. I was like, all right, Eagles football. Here we go, baby. This is it. This is ball. I'm excited to be able to sit on my couch for the last 15 minutes of this game. I'm excited for that. I cannot wait. And then it just very shortly after that, I was pulling my fingernails off with pliers, man.
And that's on everyone. That's not just on coaching. That's on the players too.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It's on everyone. And that carrying into next week, boy, oh boy, I don't see a way they lose this game, right? But if by some chance they lay an egg in this game against the Giants, I don't want to see what the reaction is on social media because it would be visceral.
It's Jonestown is what it would be like. It's gonna make Jonestown seem like just a dust up. That's what it would be like, man. And I don't know where to go from here. But we got about 10 minutes left just to try to have some positive spin. What went right?
Jalen Carter is going to be an all-pro either this year or next year.
He's definitely defensive rookie of the year.
I think he's a game wrecker, and the Eagles just need to play him as much as possible. I don't care about your rotation. This is the issue you've run into when you have these attacking lines like this.
Yep.
Just let him take over the game. Why not?
I liked Keely Ringo. I didn't love Keely Ringo.
Ringo did have a decent game.
Now, and I'm going to use a different word. I do love Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown's my guy. I love Sidney Brown.
He has been your guy this whole year.
He did not. He's just got so much juice. And he didn't have good tackle. He didn't do some tackles that he needed. Or he didn't make some tackles that he needed to make, like on the Kenneth Walker run. Again, nobody made any tackles. But he was there for it, man. He could at least kind of slow somebody down. I love me some Sidney Brown. I liked more things in the running game that were good. More things in the option to Dallas Goedert. I loved it. Why are we not doing things that are fun, guys? Why? Oh, it doesn't have to be meat and potatoes. Throw some celery in there or something, man. Use some pepper. Spice it up a little bit. That was good. There was the orbit motion pitch for DeAndre Swift where Jordan Mailata was out in front of him. You can do other plays.
And then they go away from all of it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like they were imposing their will and getting creative in the beginning of the game. And yet the ugly head of what this offense, for whatever reason, has become rears its head in the second half. It made no sense in a vacuum, and it sure as hell made no sense in the context of the game that was being played.
It's so brutal. It's like Brian Johnson going to a Mexican restaurant and then ordering jalapenos and pronouncing it correctly, and then he's like, "All right, I'll also take a quesadilla." It's like you know how to do it correctly. You know how to do it correctly, and you know how to do things that are appropriate, but you just went back to your same old bullshit, Brian. It's very frustrating for that. But again, good things. We're talking good things. I liked the brotherly shove variant. That was good. We haven't seen that one yet. There's a handful of things that they can do. Braden Mann was good. Had a bad punt that turned into a good punt. I like that. And that's pretty much the good things.
Well, I mean, with 9 minutes left, right?
Yeah.
I
used all my good things in 3 minutes. So that's a bummer.
We mentioned it, right? It goes Giants, Cardinals, Giants. We're in agreement that they should win all of these games.
They should.
Right?
100% they should.
This one upcoming, would you call this one the biggest guarantee that they'll win out of the three? Because personally, that's where I'm leaning towards, in the sense of I think this is the one that is the biggest win guarantee, because they're back home.
Yeah.
And they're coming off a bad losing streak. You have all this coming out in the media. I feel like it's either they regain their footing to an extent and just blow a inferior team, if we're being honest, off the field, or they barely skirt by and we all get a sense of where this season's headed.
So let me think. Okay, so they're also at home against the Cardinals, but that's going to be on a short week.
Right.
This, I guess, I wouldn't consider it a short week, even though it's a hell of a long travel day today or last night, whatever it was. And then, but man, as of right now, again, in a vacuum, because I think that week 18 one could be a sure thing if the Giants are just like, F it, let's tank and get a good draft position. I think that one could be this is as close to a guarantee as you can get. But without going that deep into it, yes, I would say that this one would be the one that we have to do, because it's gonna be Boston Scott's first go of things, hopefully. So yeah, I think I would agree on that, but I could easily be persuaded into week 18. But again, that's also in MetLife. It's not a big travel thing, but that field is, and Jalen Hurts in MetLife is not good. Not good at all.
And it's also like, with this game coming up, it's also like I don't want to call it a must win, but it's basically a must win.
Yesterday was a must win.
Yeah. So basically, they can't afford another letdown performance. And I think they have the talent to avoid that again. It's just a matter of, basically, I'm very interested to see how this week plays out in terms of the what you hear.
Who gets fired?
If anything's
demoted.
Yeah, if anything leaks out, if there's any big changes, if you have to hear AJ Brown say something or Jay, like, it's more of an internally focused week for me than externally one.
Yeah, you're 100% right. The talent is all the way there. The talent's there. It's the brains behind the operation, and the skin on this is the skeleton is some rotting carcass, and it is bad.
Right.
It
so
stinks,
because it's like, look, we got to be honest with ourselves. The Eagles outclassed the Giants in every aspect of the game.
100%.
Offense, defense, special teams. What it's a matter of is those units showing up. And if the turmoil, if you want to call it that, and be melodramatic about it, that is the question, because if that's over the top, it's the NFL. Any given Sunday, if that's affecting the team, they could drop an egg and lose the game they shouldn't lose. That affects their playoff spot. So by focusing on that exclusively, you're going to get a really good sense of not just the short term, but also long term heading into the postseason. At least in my eyes. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. I mean, it's just I use this on Friday. I don't faith and trust. I'm
Right.
at a point where I don't trust or have faith in this team.
Right.
There was after the 49ers game, I trusted this team but didn't have faith in them. It's all gone now. So it's just hard for me. It's just hard for me to think. I don't know. They could easily, if they laid another stinker, I'd be like, Merry Christmas. They could easily lay another stinker as they could beat the Giants by 40 points, which they need to do.
Oh, it's a must.
Yep.
This is your Globo Gym Purple Cobra Leave No Doubt game where it's like, get all of your frustration out, all of the anger and aggravation you've had with these past few games, get it all out and start again. Like you're playing Tommy DeVito, man. Like if Tommy DeVito beats this team, come on.
In the past 3 weeks, the Eagles are, as far as a scoring offense goes, the team that's ahead of them is the Tommy DeVitos. The team that's behind them is the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the company that we're in right now. Things are bad.
Yeah.
Things are bad and things are broken, and there's turmoil in the ranks. Again, they could easily just dominate and whoop up on little brother, or they could play angry and be angry and run it up and get that confidence back. It would be faux confidence, to be very clear. Again, to me, this Eagles season shot, try out your young guys, develop. That's where I'm at. They're obviously not in that same camp. They could easily whoop up, or just totally fart away another thing and let another backup quarterback beat them. The third backup quarterback, it would be, by the way. And Tommy DeVito's a third-string quarterback.
I mean, we're not going to obviously get into predictions or what we want to see and what we need to see and what we want to see, but
correct.
This game is way more critical than it was 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
I mean, if this game doesn't go well, none of the other games are critical, because then Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. You don't get home games, and why not just sit your starters for the next 2 weeks? But again, it doesn't matter. They should sit their starters no matter what, because everything's gone to hell. I don't know. I know I'm being stubborn.
The thing I want to finish with is, man, back to offensive play calling. I'm terrified they're going to get Jalen hurt. I know that's I know that's probably like a little over the top, but like the way they play call sometimes, it's like no regard for this guy's safety.
No, and then sometimes Jalen's throws were potentially going to get other people hurt, like that one to Devontae that AJ had to block on. Man, you're going to get somebody killed, guys. If Jalen's playing like that, put in Marcus. We know Marcus is terrible. We know that, but please, for the love of God, at least he could potentially make an actual decision to keep somebody healthy. Man, it's so frustrating. I don't know.
It's a very interesting spot the Eagles are in, and man, they got to finish the season on a strong note, because if they don't,
the offseason's going to be hell.
Yeah.
It's probably already going to be hell. I don't know. All right, you got any more thoughts?
Get a win this week. Get back on the right foot.
Gotta get a win. Man, I couldn't agree more. All right, thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. Hopefully this was, man, I don't even want to call it therapeutic. Or is cathartic a better word? I don't know the difference between cathartic and therapeutic.
Something in the middle.
Something along those lines, or maybe your sadness was justified. That could have been it too, because it is. Your sadness and your angers are justified. But thank you guys very much for hanging out with us on this Tuesday night. Sorry. We will be back with you on Friday to preview the first Giants game of the season. And we'll talk to you then. That's Brandon Pockris. My name's Jake Beckman. Go Birds.